73 BC. The Roman Republic was at the height of its power. Its armies had conquered most of the Mediterranean world, and its political institutions had established a stable and prosperous society. But beneath the surface of its grandeur was a dark reality. Slavery was the backbone of the Roman economy, and thousands of people were bought and sold in slave markets every day. Among them were gladiators trained to fight for the entertainment of the Roman people. One such gladiator was Spartacus, a Thracian by birth. He had been captured and sold into slavery to be trained in a gladiator school in Capua, in the south of Italy, where he learned to fight with skill and courage. In the year 73 BC, Spartacus and a group of gladiators staged a daring escape from their training facility. 78 men burst into the kitchen, armed themselves with knives and iron skewers, and killed the guards who stood in their way. On one of the streets they met several carts carrying weapons for gladiators to another city. The slaves captured these weapons and moved on, overcoming the resistance of the city gate guards. By evening, the fugitives reached Vesuvius and, having chosen a place convenient for defense, at the top of the volcano, settled there. Several detachments were sent from Capua against the gladiators, but the attack was repulsed and a large amount of equipment was captured. Taking refuge on Vesuvius, the slaves chose leaders, who became to Gallic slaves and the Thracian, Criks, Enomaus and Spartacus. Due to the fact that the riot and raids took place in Campania, which was a vacation spot for the rich and influential citizens of Rome, the uprising quickly attracted the attention of the authorities. Rome sent a military force under the leadership of a praetor to suppress the uprising, Gaius Claudius Glaber. He gathered about 10,000 people to defeat Sparta once and for all. Glaber besieged the slaves on Vesuvius, blocking the only known descent from the mountain. Thus, Glaber intended to wait until starvation forced the rebels to surrender. Finding themselves under siege, Spartacus' men made ropes and ladders from vines and trees growing on the slopes of Vesuvius and used them to climb down the rocks under cover of darkness. On the opposite side of the mountain, the gladiators then walked around the foot of Vesuvius and attacked the Glaber soldiers in the morning. This unexpected move allowed them to navigate around the base of Vesuvius, outflanking Glaber's army and orchestrating a devastating blow that annihilated the besieging Roman forces. The resourcefulness and unorthodox tactics exhibited by Spartacus's forces proved to be a formidable challenge for the disciplined Roman legions under Glaber's command. After the stunning victory at Mount Vesuvius, the rebel forces under Spartacus faced a second Roman expedition, led by the Preto Publius Varinius. The Roman forces, commanded by Varinius and his subordinates, Furius and Licinius, aimed to quell the slave revolt. However, the Roman expedition faced internal challenges, as Varinius decided to split his forces. First, the rebels attacked the Furius detachment and defeated it. Then Spartacus by surprise attacked Lucius Licinius, who at that time was swimming near the town of Salina, and almost took him prisoner, and pursuing him, captured the camp in a bloody battle, in which Licinius was killed. The allure of freedom and the success of their previous engagements attracted not only slaves, but also many of the shepherds of the region. The rebel army swelled to an impressive 70,000, a formidable force that spent the winter of 73 to 72 BC consolidating their gains. During this period, the rebel slaves focused on training, arming and equipping their new recruits. Their raiding territory expanded to include the towns of Nola, Nuseria Thurii and Metapontam. The victories, however, came at a cost. In Emmaus, one of the leaders of the rebellion was lost, presumably in battle, and his name fades from the annals of history during these events, as the rebels regrouped and strengthened their forces, and reached Thurii to set up their military base. The choice to establish a base in Thurii was not purposeless. The city was renowned for its large surplus of iron, and it was the largest manufacturer of military equipment in southern Italy. Despite defeating two Roman armies and appropriating a lot of their equipment, the growing number of rebel troops created an ever-increasing shortage of weapons and armor. In the following months, the forges of Thurii were working at full capacity to equip the rebel army, while new recruits continued to join their ranks in droves. After the defeat of the Praetorian armies, the Senate finally decided to take more drastic measures in order to defeat Spartacus and his followers. The two acting consuls of the Republic were given 1 legion each to quash the rebellion once and for all. Meanwhile, the disagreements between the different factions of the rebellion had reached their peak. Spartacus planned to head north to Cisalpine Gaul, where his army would divide. German soldiers would cross the Alps to return home, while Thracians would head east toward the Balkan Peninsula. Many rebels were not enticed by the proposal, as a significant number of them were second or third generation slaves. The Cambrian War veterans were probably unwilling to join Spartacus. Instead, they sought to avenge their defeat by inflicting maximum suffering on the Romans. Criks suggested a different plan. He and his men would break away, continue causing chaos in Italy, and fight the Romans. Spartacus led the majority of rebels north from Thurii, while Crassus and his smaller group headed northeast. Lucius Gellius Publicola and his legionaries triumphed at the Battle of Mount Guorgano, where Crassus's forces, experiencing their first open field encounter with a Roman legion, were overwhelmed. Despite fighting almost to the last man, the rebel army was defeated. Spartacus, upon learning of his comrades' defeat, orchestrated a grim spectacle, forcing 300 Roman prisoners to engage in gladiatorial combat, a macabre homage to fallen Crassus. Undeterred, Spartacus altered his strategy, leading his formidable army of 70,000 northward through the Apennines towards Cisalpine Gaul. His objective was twofold: to exploit the bountiful harvests of the region, to sustain his swelling ranks, and to incite rebellion in the cities against Rome. As Spartacus advanced, the momentum of his cause intensified. Escaped slaves, gladiators, deserters, and discontented peasants from nearby towns flocked to his banner, augmenting his army to a staggering 120,000 strong, determined to force a resolution. Spartacus opted for a direct march on Rome. Prior to this audacious move, he implemented ruthless measures, burning surplus materials, executing prisoners, and slaughtering pack animals to maximize the mobility of his colossal force. In response, the consuls Gellius and Lentulus regrouped in Rome, fortifying and expanding their legions. Recognizing the gravity of the situation, they united their forces with the intent to intercept Spartacus's oncoming juggernaut. In the intricate dance between Spartacus and the Roman forces, the stage was set in Picenum for a clash that would reverberate through the annals of history. Spartacus, with his ever-swelling slave army, deftly maneuvered through the challenging terrain of the Apennines, his eyes set on Rome itself. The consular army, under the joint leadership of Gellius and Lentulus, moved decisively to intercept the rebel forces. The convergence of these two formidable powers took place in peace, in them where the fate of Rome hung in the balance. Spartacus, wielding both strategic acumen and numerical advantage, orchestrated a stunning display of military prowess. The clash in Picenum witnessed the spectacular defeat of the combined consular army, as Spartacus inflicted heavy losses upon their ranks. The once confident Roman forces, now in disarray for the second time, retreated hastily to Rome, leaving behind the echoes of their shattered pride. For Spartacus, this triumph marked the zenith of his military career, a moment where he had not only routed, but crushed two significant consular armies in a single, decisive battle. The Battle of Picenum edged itself as the gravest defeat for Rome in this unfolding war, casting a shadow over the once mighty Roman military and emboldening the slave army's quest for freedom. The reverberations of this victory would echo through the ongoing struggle, shaping the course of the Third Servile War and cementing Spartacus's name as a formidable adversary in the pages of history. In the wake of the resounding victory at Picenum, Spartacus found himself at a pivotal juncture, just a stone's throw away from the heart of Rome. The rooted remnants of the consular armies, reaching the city in a state of disarray, signaled an imminent threat to the very core of the Roman Republic. However, Spartacus, displaying a keen understanding of the challenges ahead, made a strategic decision to postpone the final confrontation with Rome, recognizing that his diverse army, though formidable, was not adequately equipped for a siege on the city. Spartacus chose a prudent course of action. Instead of pressing forward to Rome, he withdrew his forces back to southern Italy. Thurii, a town in the region, and the surrounding countryside, became the new focal point for Spartacus's operations. Here he engaged in strategic maneuvers, seizing Thurii and trading plunder with merchants to acquire essential materials such as bronze and iron. These materials were crucial for the manufacture of additional weapons, reinforcing the strength of his army. Simultaneously, Roman forces dispatched to quell the rebellion faced repeated defeats at the hands of Spartacus and his determined followers. The audacity and effectiveness of the slave army had now become a significant concern for the Roman Senate in 71 BC. Acknowledging the gravity of the situation and the seemingly unstoppable nature of the slave rebellion, the Senate took a decisive step. The consuls, who had previously led the Roman response, were dismissed, making way for new leadership under Marcus Licinius Crassus. After some period, Crassus was sent to put down the rebellion. Considered one of the wealthiest people in Rome and a powerful politician, Crassus seized the opportunity to defeat the rebels, to further increase his renown and might among the Senate. Crassus and Spartacus's armies met in a series of direct and indirect confrontations for a year. But the slaves now find themselves trapped from all sides due to the incoming reinforcements from Lucius from the southeast and Pompey from the north, and are now forced to face two of Crassus's legions, who caught up to him as fast as they could to not share the triumph with the other two generals. The armies now met for the inevitable battle of the mouth of Silarius River in 71 BC. Despite being a brilliant strategist, the terrain had nothing to offer for an effective battle plan. Spartacus had no other choice than to fight the Roman legions directly, a fight which Crassus gladly accepts. Before the battle, Spartacus had his horse brought to him, unsheathed his sword, and killed the animal. He told his troops that if victorious, he would have plenty of horses to choose from, but if defeated by the Romans, he wouldn't require one.
I do not want them to run from the battle. I want their heads on our pikes by evening. There is no shame in fear. There is only shame in letting fear rule you. Try not to look scared, and you'll find bravery in your heart.
Sorry, always is. I wish you good luck, my brothers. Same to you.
Don't be greedy, Crassus is mine. Rome, Spartacus, time to die.
Certainly, the struggle for control of the battlefield was marked by fierce combat, with neither side giving ground easily. Spartacus, despite being a skilled strategist, faced the difficulty of overcoming the tactical challenges posed by the landscape. The Roman legions, under the command of Crassus, proved to be a formidable opponent, disciplined, and determined to quell the slave rebellion. The clash of swords, the thunder of hooves, and the cries of soldiers echoed through the battlefield as each side fought relentlessly for victory. Despite the courage and the determination of the rebels, Spartacus couldn't face the power of the Roman army in a face-to-face battle. Seeing Crassus a few meters from him, Spartacus in his rage charged with a few companions to the Roman general, but were intercepted by the soldiers. Near his bodyguards, Spartacus and his companions were slaughtered under the strikes of the Romans. Hearing the dead of their leaders, the remaining rebels fled from the battlefield, and the battle turned into a massacre. To bolster his influence in Rome over Crassus and undermine his triumph against Spartacus, Pompey started pursuing and killing the fugitives, resulting in the death of 5,000 individuals. After the battle, Crassus ordered to crucify 6,000 of the remaining slaves along the route between Rome and Capua, as a symbol of the brutal repression that followed the war. The Third Servile War was concluded, and never again did slaves dare to revolt against the Roman rule by force. Spartacus died in battle, though his body was never found. Thank you for watching the video. Please consider liking it and subscribing for more upcoming videos.